All right. So I would like to start a short presentation, the iOS design guidelines, part 1. Okay, all right, let's start. So what is the user interface design? User interface design or user interface engineer is the design of user interfaces for machines and software such as computers, home applications, mobile devices, and other electronic devices, with a focus on maximizing the user experience. So what is the goal of it? The goal of user interface design is to make the user's interaction as simple and efficient as possible in terms of accomplish user goals. So let's speak about iOS. The iOS embodies the following themes: difference, clarity, and depth. So difference is the UI helps people understand and interact with the content, but never competes with it. Take average of the whole screen, recognize visual indicators of physicality and realism, let translate UI elements, hint at the content behind them. Clarity. Text is legible and every sizes. Icons are precise and liquid. Also, adorned are subtle and approached, and a sharp focus on functionality motivates the design. Use plenty of negative space. Negative space makes important content and functionality more noticeably and easy. Negative space can also impart a sense of calm and tranquility, and it can make an app work more focused and efficient. Depth. Visual layers and realistic motion impart vitality, and higher people delight and understanding. On devices that support 3D touch, pick, pop, and quick actions give user access to imported functionality without losing their context. Reminders display list in layers. So now I would like to discuss body parts of our iOS application. So let's start iOS application anatomy. Almost all iOS apps use at least some of UI components defined by UIKit. So UIKit framework is the most common framework for working with any UI elements in Xcode. Knowing the name, roles, and capabilities of these basic components helps you make informed decisions as to design the UI of your application. So body parts of anatomy is the bars, content view, controls, and temporary views. The bars contain contextuality information that tells users where they are and controls that helps users navigate or initiate actions. So bars, it means they tell us which kind of view, of which kind of list, of what page user already have seen, and what is happening if he going to the back or the next page. Content view contain app-specific content and can enable behaviors such as scrolling, insertion, deletion, and rearrangement of items. For example, it's some like a collection view or table view, when we can scrolling items, or you can delete some items or adding one of them. Controls perform action or display information. Controls is mean like a button, for example, or like switcher, or like slider. It's something that change behavior of our application. Also, I would like to say about temporary views. Temporary views appear briefly to give user important information and additional choices and functionality. Let's show some example about it. On this example, firstly, you can see a navigation bar, a tab bar. This is places that help the user understand where is he now, on which places in our application he already stay. So content view, it's a table view and table view 2 here. So content view just show the user some contents. A user can scroll it. Also, map view is too content view because the user can scroll it and do some zoom in or zoom out. Also, controls. Here, controls is the segment control, for example. Application behavior is changed when user pressed some control. Actually, control is two cancel button and setting buttons because it's two elements of control. But the UI alert in common, it is a temporary use because yes, it is a temporary use. It's just view for some situation when we would like to ask user about something specially and enable some services like here location services, or for example enable notification. So in addition to defining UI elements, UI defines objects that implement functionality such as gesture recognition, drawing, accessibility, and printing support. Programmatically, and UI elements is type of view because in heart of view. That I mean that UI button, for example, is interrupts from UI view. It means that UI view is subclass for UI button, for example. A view knows how to draw itself on screen, and it knows when a user touch within in bounds. It means that you know when user pressed some point of this view. Also, control such as buttons and sliders, contents view, such a collection view and table view, and temporary view, such as alerts and action sheets, are all types of the view. So it means that UI view is the basic class for any UI kit objects. To manage a set of hierarchy of views in your application, you typically use a view controller. A view controller coordinates the displays of view, implements the functionality behind user interaction, and can manage transaction from one screen to another. For example, set its user a navigation controller to display its hierarchy of views. So here is some example how view and view controllers can be combined to present the UI and UI of an iOS application. I would like to tell you that in iOS application includes a window. It's the bottom level of the application. How to say? Yep. But unlike a window in computer application, an iOS window has no visible path, and it can't be moved to another location on display. Most iOS applications contain only one window. Apps that support and external display can have more than one window, but usually it's like one window for our application. So we cannot move it, we cannot hide it, and we cannot show window. It's just places to show another view. So also the next level is navigation controller. So it's the new controller subclasses. It means that it's a controller that определяет. So the user use navigation controller to show some information and to show some view on this navigation controller. Also, with using navigation controller, we can present another view controller, for example, to go to another screen or push back to the one screen before. On the navigation controller, application have a view. Here we go. So view can be content some elements of control. For example, like a slider here. Slider is a view subclasses, yes, but it is controls. It is not it is, and also the top level of our application is navigation bar. So with using navigation bar, user can go to the back or go to the next screen, or call some special modal screen for change some settings and other stuff on, for example, Hamburg menu. All right. So let's talking about starting and stopping our application. So the first impression is very important for such an application. So we should start application instantly. It's often said that people spend no more than a minute or two evaluating a new application. When you make the most of the brief period by presenting useful content immediately, you pique the interest of new users and give our users a superior experience. It means that if you show in first minute or two something specially and usefully for user, absolutely that user will use this application. If it does something not usefully, just something information not useful, user don't want to use this application, or some loading screen, or some long settings screen, something like here. So also restarting is boring. Don't tell to people to reboot or restart the devices. Also, don't tell to people to restart your application too after install your application. Restarting takes time and can make your application seem unreliable and hard to use. It's boring, yep. Loading, as such as possibly avoid displaying splash screen or other startup experience. Also avoid asking people to supply setup information. Because yeah, absolutely that if we download some application and we press it, open it, and we have a splash screen more than, for example, 50 seconds, 30 seconds, or 1 minute, it makes us crazy and angry, because I want to use the application. I don't want to wait it. Okay, let's go to the next slide. For starting your application, you should, like a developer or designer, focus on the needs of the 18% of your users. Get as much information as possible from other sources. If you must ask for setup, prompt people to enter it within your application. Delay a login requirement for as long as possible. Okay. Firstly, focus on needs of 80% of your users. When you do this, most people want to have to supply any settings, because the application is already set up to behavior the way they expect. If the functionality that only a few users might want, or that most users might want only once, leave it out. It means that if you want to create some special functionality for 1 or 2 or 3% of user, just forget about it, because it will be nervous other users. So just keep in mind about 80% of your users. Get as much information as possibility from our sources. If you can use any of information people supply in Boolean, app, or device settings, queue the system for these values. Don't ask people to enter them again. In the last week, we discussing about to re-ask user to send a notification in our application. So it's very it may be nervous, because when people declare that or decide that I don't want to use notification in this application, and we ask them again, it can be nervous. So we should respect this him choice. If user must ask for setup, prompt people to enter it without any application. Then store this information as soon as possible, potentially in your application settings. As this way, people are not forced to switch to settings before they get the chance to enjoy your application. And also delay a login request for as long as possible. It's the best when user can navigate through much of your application and use some of the functionality without login or registration. Gives user only the information they need to get started. A good on-board experience shows user what to do firstly or briefly demonstrates a few of the features that most users are interested in without login or registration. Okay. So as you see, it's a calculator. It is application from iOS, and recommend to just just show user possibility to use it without any welcome screen or please start to use it or something more not useful information or useful from not useful useless information yet useless information. Also, I would like to tell you about stopping application. So always be prepared to stop. What does it mean? In iOS app never displays a close or quit option. People stop using an application when they switch to another application, return to the home screen, or put their devices in sleep mode. So we don't ask in like, do you want to really to quit from our application? If iOS don't like this kind of work, it makes a user nervous, absolutely. Also, never quit an iOS app programmatically. It means that people tend to interpret this as a crash. So people can think that it is a crash. It's not a expectedly predictable behavior. If something prevents your application from functionality as instant, you need to tell user about the situation and explain what they can do about it. It means that if you need to restart our application, but it is absolutely not good case, but at least if you need to restart application, explain to user why you should to do it. Maybe you download a great update or something else, and just show respect to your user and explain to him why you should do this. Also, be prepared. As you know, user can close our application in what time that you want. So you don't ask you like a developer, or you don't ask you like a iOS application that can I close you. He just close it and go to another application. So we should save user data as soon as possibly and as often as reasonably. Save the current state when stopping and the finest level of detail possibly. So it means that if you don't want like a developer to forget some information, just save it as soon as possibly. Use multi-thread, use Grand Central Dispatch to do it, but save it and keep it in your memory. Okay, at the last part of our conversation, I would like to tell you about modal contexts. Modality, that is a mode in which something exists or experience has advantages and disadvantages. It can give user a way to complete a task or get information without distractions, but it does so by temporarily preventing them from interaction with the rest of our application. Ideally, people can interact with iOS application in non-linear ways. So it's the best when you can minimize the number of modal experience in your application. In general, consider creating a modal contents only when firstly, I would like to show you what is modal context. Modal context is here is the UI alert, for example, is a kind of screen that we ask user to decline or accept something. For example, turn on location service, or show some action view, or share screen, or model view. So don't have to use modal view if we cannot use it. And also keep modal task simply, short, and not focused. Keep modal task simply, short, and not focused. You don't want to user experience a model view as a mini application within your application. It means that do your modal view very easy to understandable. It's not without any questing or heavy navigation inside. Just yes or no. Just ask and answer on this question. Always provide on obvious and safe way to exit modal task. People should always be able to predict the fate of their work when they dismiss a model view. So, as you can see that people can always should continue work in your application if he dismisses a modal view. So do it in right way. Make sure that your users understand what's happening. It means that formally your request is better to understand to user, and avoid adding a done button to subordinate view as so much as possible. So it's not good experience to use a done button on the modal view, because when you ask a user, do you want to use location service, and user can see a button done, he don't understand. If he will he use location service for this application or will not, if he pressed a done button. So just rename it and use cancel, for example, use settings, use for example string, but don't use done. It's forbidden. Also respect user's preference for receiving notification. In settings, users indicate how they want to receive notification from your application. Be sure to attitude by this preference so that user aren't tempted to turn off all notification from your application. So it means that we should respect the choice of user. If user says that we don't want to receive applications, fine. If user change his mind, he can go to the settings screen, enable a notification received, and he will receive notification as he can, as he will, as he want. Okay, so resume. I would like to tell and I would like to notice main things one more time. So let's do it. Let's do it. Guidelines helps to design application. Knowing the guidelines, roles, and capabilities of basic components help you make informative decision as you design the UI of your application. It means that it's better to know the all components or and possibility to modify it before you started to design your application. If you don't know some components, you cannot use it in your design. Absolutely, that you cannot use it in your application. So firstly, you should know how does it work. So anatomy parts of application are bars. It means that navigation bars or toolbars. Content views. It means the table view, collection view. Controls. It's like view controller at least. And temporary view, like UI alert view, UI alert sheets view, and others. So it's like temporary view that just asking user about something and do it quickly and do it simply, in simple way. Also start instantly and be ready to stop. It means that make your application ready to use faster, avoid settings, registration, and login process as long as possibly. And always be ready to stop application, because user can close your application in one time, and you cannot know when user closes. Use modal views only for simple tasks. Keep modal tasks simple, short, and narrowly focused. You don't want users to expire a modal view as a mini application in your application, inside your application. So Thank you for your attention. To be continued. Next time I will continue discuss with you Apple iOS guidelines. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Andrei. Nice presentation.
Thank you.
Can I ask you just one small question?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm wondering about, for example, if I, as a new iOS developer, create my new cool application and I don't use such guidelines that you told us just about. And in this situation, is it possible that my application will be rejected from the App Store?
It could be. It could be, but it depends on the concretical situation. If you don't have UI some collision, for example, your label is easy to read it, and buttons you're easy to use it, for example, and it is not crashing your application, but you just not to use some colors or some negative spaces or some another stuff of guidelines. I think it could be right in App Store, but for user experience it will be not good.
Okay, I understand. Thank you.
So thank you one more time.